let's talk about contracts. And I know that word alone probably sounds boring or maybe even a little scary. But stick with me, because we're not going to talk about them in the way you think. In fact, what you're about to hear might just change how you see your entire day. So, when I say that word, contract, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Seriously, just take a second and picture it. For most of us, it's something pretty specific and, maybe a little intimidating. I'm guessing it looks something like this, right? These huge stacks of paper, just filled with confusing legal jargon you can barely understand. You're probably picturing lawyers in suits, maybe the threat of a lawsuit, and that super formal moment where you have to sign your name on the dotted line. It all feels like this huge, rare, really serious event. Okay, but let's just hit pause on that whole intimidating image for a second. I want to run a quick personal audit with you. It's really just one simple question. Think about it, honestly. In the last 7 days, how many of those formal ink and paper contracts have you actually signed? Just get a number in your head. Got it? Okay, so if you're like pretty much everyone else, that number you're thinking of is probably right around 0, right? And look, that is a perfectly logical answer. Based on that stereotype we just talked about, the lawyers and the stacks of paper, most of us don't go around signing massive legal documents every week. So 0 makes total sense. But here's the twist. The truth is, it's incredibly rare for anyone's real answer to actually be 0. Now, that completely flies in the face of what we all just thought. So if the answer isn't 0, where in the world are all these contracts hiding? Well, they're hiding in plain sight. They're literally woven into the fabric of your daily routine, in places you've probably never even thought to look. Let's just walk through a completely typical day. So you start your day, maybe you buy a coffee, then you hop on the bus or train to get where you're going. Around lunchtime, you grab a sandwich. And on the way home, you swing by the store to pick up some groceries. Just simple, everyday stuff, right? Wrong. Every single one of them. The coffee, the bus ride, the lunch, the groceries, each one of those is a contract. I'll say that again. Each of those is a legally binding agreement you take part in, probably without a second thought. Okay, wait, how is that possible? How can buying a latte be the same as signing a legal document? It's because our whole stereotype of a contract is wrong. The reality of what makes a contract is so much simpler than we've been led to believe. See, at its absolute core, a contract is just an agreement between people to exchange something of value. That's it. When you buy a coffee, you agree to exchange your money for their coffee. They get value, your money, you get value, your coffee. The moment you pay and walk away with your drink, the contract is complete. And this really shows the difference, doesn't it? We think contracts have to be complex and written down, but the reality is they're usually simple and often unspoken. We think of them as rare, formal events, but they actually happen daily and are super casual. And they don't really involve lawyers. They involve you. All right, so let's circle all the way back. Now that we have this new, much clearer idea of what a contract really is, let's run that little personal audit one more time. So, for real now, think about it. Every time you bought a snack, paid for parking, streamed a movie, ordered something online, even just bought a pack of gum, start adding them up. The number starts climbing pretty fast, huh? Suddenly, 0 looks kind of ridiculous. For the average person in an average week, the real number is easily over 20, maybe 30, maybe even more. It's a huge difference, and it all just came from a simple shift in how we look at things. So why is this important? Because it shows us that contracts aren't these big, scary legal monsters. They're the invisible engine that makes our daily lives run. There are millions of tiny, simple agreements built on trust that allow our whole world to function. You're actually an expert at this stuff, and you do it all day, every day. And that brings me to the last thing I want you to think about. Now that your eyes are open to these constant little exchanges of value, where else are you going to see them? What are the unspoken agreements you make with your coworkers or your friends or your family that keep your world running smoothly? Once you start looking, you're going to see them everywhere.